We were married on the 2nd day of June, and the police came after us the 14th of July. It was about 2 a.m. And I saw this light, you know, and I woke up and it was the policeman standing beside the bed, and he told us to get up, that we was under arrest.
They came one night and they knocked a couple times. I heard them, and before I could get up, you know, they just broke the door and came right on in. When we got up there, standing beside the bed with flashlights.
They asked Richard who was that woman he was sleeping with. I said, I'm his wife, and the sheriff said, not here, you're not.
Tonight we're screening The LovingsStory, one of our HBO documentaries. It's premiering next week on Valentine's Day. The response was huge from the beginning, and it's been a great partnership between Cox and HBO. I mean, it's something that we hope to do over and over again with, you know, new things coming down the pike. So.
The LovingsStory is a documentary about a monumental court case that took place right here in Virginia that covered interracial marriage and outlawed laws that prohibited people of different races getting married. Part of what makes this event so special is we were actually able to be joined by Bernie Cohen, who was a primary lawyer for the ACLU in this court case. Not only was he a lawyer, but he's a proud Virginian and a past legislator in Northern Virginia.
Well, actually, well, I'm sure the publicity isn't too pleasant. It'll probably work out, and it'll work out for a lot of other people.
Yes. I hope so. And, you know, because of that, it's not so much of me and Richard. Because we could go away, but it's the principle, it's the law. I don't think it's right. Mm-hmm. And if we do win, we will be helping a lot of people. You know.
Mrs. Loving was living with Mr. Loving in the District of Columbia for 4 or 5 years. They had already been convicted and banned from the state of Virginia for what is called miscegenation, or marriage between two different races.
Well, when Mr. and Mrs. Loving were having their problems, they wrote to the Attorney General of the United States, who was then Robert Kennedy, and asked if the civil rights bills that were being discussed in Congress at that time, let's say, I guess it was 1963, would give them any relief from their problem. And he wrote back and told them that it would not, but suggested that they get in touch with the American Civil Liberties Union. And
she did call the ACLU office in Washington, D.C., and as far as I know, I was the only volunteer attorney for ACLU in Virginia. So they called me up and asked me if I would meet with the Lovings, which I did, and decided that on behalf of the ACLU, we would take the case and represent them.
It was very touching to me because without that case, me and him wouldn't be allowed to be married. So for me, that was like the biggest tipping point for me. It was very just touching because of that. So I'm very grateful.
Not only was it a love story, but it was so significant to where we are today. Because certainly there still are struggles when it comes to interracial marriage, interracial relationships as a whole, but that it was such importance to them that they set a precedent, and they probably didn't even know that they were doing it for how important it would be to others, but just so much so that they could show their love and be able to be together. True love, certainly true love.
At Cox, we have the philosophy of being corporate citizens. We aren't just businesses, we're parts of the community. And this story really tells the truth about what happened in our community. So for us, if we weren't telling the story, someone else would. So it's important for us to give back to our community and let them know about a little bit about our history.